what we're seeing more is lenses that are more compromised. Or in a good example is the Canon, that 16mm RF prime.
Yeah.
It's actually designed to cover more of the image area. And if you use it uncorrected because of the way that it projects onto the image area, you get these really, really dark vignetted corners, like or black, basically, if you use it uncorrected. But it's also almost a 14 with a slight fisheye look to it at that point. And then the software takes it to a more rectilinear 16. And I think it is purely because they couldn't make it as small, as light, and as cheap without using those corrections. So it's like taking the tools that they've got available and using that as a tool. Hey, we've now got this other tool for lens design, and that's software correction.
Is that, I'm just spitballing, is that not a deceit and maybe a kind of a lazy excuse because they just want to get a lighter, smaller lens into people? Everyone thinks, oh, it's smaller than the last one. But in actual fact, if it was actually built correctly in the first place, it should be bigger.
I don't think so. I don't think it's a deceit. I don't think it's still 16.
They tell it's 16.
Not only that, but they're, this 50mm 1.2, it's heavy and expensive, and it doesn't requare those kind of corrections.
Yeah, I guess that's so the trade-off, isn't it?
The 15 to the 15 to 35 L lens, which is my podcasting camera lens, and also the main lens I use for mountain bike wide angle, until I can find something lighter that performs. But it doesn't have any of that. It is sharp corner to corner. If you use it uncorrected, there's a tiny bit of vignetting, but it's like the thing
at 15.
At 15, it is very, very well controlled and corrected, but it's heavy and expensive. And it's so they're using it as a way to, I guess, make cheaper, lighter lenses that still do the job. But
I was just curious.
They're not doing it on their the first time they've done it on their sort of like really heavily on their L lenses, I think was that 35 VCM prime. And there were photographers that complained quite a bit about that they were like, for a prime. Well, I guess the issue with Canon is that was their first 35 for the system that was in the L series. Yeah. So everyone was waiting for like this mega, like the equivalent of this 51.2. Everyone's waiting for this mega 35mm L lens because that's what the system deserves for photographers. And the first one that came out, while it does, I think, perform perfectly fine at a professional level, it did rely on corrections, and they were like, we deserve better than this for still image makers, and they probably do. So that was probably where they stepped out.
I guess the other side of it is that, at the end of the day, if you're going to be using a lens that needs distortion, well, then chances are you're going to be using the camera that can accommodate it, which is, obviously your R-mount camera. It's just an interesting concept because, like I said, it's something that I've never really dealt with it much at all, other than the discussions we've had. And I just wonder what other people think about it. Is it, are we, what is it, robbing Peter to pay Paul? Is that the saying?
Yeah.
Which, we're compromising actual image quality out of the lens for the sake of size and weight and probably affordability too. And I might just be splitting hairs.
No, it's worth being aware of. And I think that's the most important thing, is that people are aware when they buy these. Well, I mean, if they care. If they don't care, then they'll take great images of them. But if they care, if they're aware of it and they're ready to work with it, which I was for any of the lenses I've got that use that stuff. I actually love it on the 16 because I've often backed it off and made it wider and made it look more fisheye, because you can get another mil or two out of it and use that for mountain biking, and it's actually been really handy.
Especially at that wider ends, like 1 or 2 millimeters makes such a big difference.
Massive. It makes it wider than the 15mm lens, but it's distorted, and the corners are heavily vignetted and heavy.
Which don't matter for mountain biking.
No, well, I just crop those corners off, but it's still, even with them cropped off, it's still wider than the 15 natively. I did some fun testing with it.
So you can opt to turn off the in-camera correction.
No. I can't see. So this is the thing. If you're shooting JPEG, obviously, no, can't turn it off. And my JPEG previews in the camera, I can't see the frame that I'm going to get. So I'm shooting with a frame I'm happy with, which is what the corrected frame would be. And then in Lightroom, I can actually make it bigger. I could probably even show you now. Should I?
Okay.
Should I find one and show
Let's
you?
do it.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah.
I think you showed me one a few weeks ago of up on the hill in Bendigo, the mine tower that sits on top of the hill.
Oh, maybe.
I think you had shots you took around there, or some old dilapidated mining equipment.
Yeah, no, but I don't think I ended up taking the 16 to that though. Oh, maybe I did on my shootout.
I thought you showed us correction on that.
It's
just an interesting thing because it's and the fact that when you shoot with the Canon, even though you know that this lens actually takes more of the frame, that when you're composing the shot, you only see the corrected. Is that what you're saying? You only see the corrected file on the LCD or in the EVF
as the JPEG preview because you can't turn it off in camera. But when you bring it into Lightroom, obviously you can do whatever you want to the distortion correction straight from the raw, and that's the difference. So
I wonder how many people that aren't savvy saw the uncorrected images in Lightroom and freaked out that their lens was cooked.
Wonder if well, that's true.
If their preset doesn't have lens corrections in.
Yeah, if they've just dropped it straight into Lightroom or any other editor that, and they've gone, oh, hang on, this is dark in the corners and it's distorted. And I wonder how many times a day Canon gets called about that. These are the things that keep me up at night.
So let me just
let us know in the chat what you think about the whole, and I'm not trying to make a big thing out of nothing. It's just a worthy conversation piece, I think.
I think it is fun to talk about this since it is becoming so much more common with lens design. And I think we're only going to see more and more of it. All right. Yeah. So this is actually, even though I've mainly used it for mountain biking, this is a wedding photo. I have taken those every now and then. You guys, for some reason, Lightroom doesn't want to show you. What if I full screen it? I just want to show you my sidebars. Did that work?
No, we can't see it.
Yeah, anyway, you can see the image, but that is odd that it won't show you my tools. I'll just have to tell you what I'm doing. And if you're listening on audio, hey, stick with us. It's not always like this. All right, so I'm going to currently enable profile corrections is ticked, and it's for the Lightroom Canon RF 16mm profile correction. So this is what we see, and that's what I would have seen as the JPEG preview on the back of the camera. I'm going to slide the distortion correction down from default, and we're going to see how much more image we get in the frame. Wow. Yeah. Wow. So that's
heaps.
So this
and the vignetting's not that.
It's not that bad, but it is there. No. So that's 16mm. That is a 16mm lens because that was what a lot of people complained about, and they were wrong. They were like, "It's not truly a 16mm that's cropping." And I'm like, yeah, it's cropping from like a 14 to a 16. It is a 16. But when you get it out, it is more fisheye. You'll see there's distortion. You'll see there's bending. And you'll see like there is sort of dark corners, dark corners.
Not too bad,
but even if you crop those out, even if you pull it in and sort of crop the corners out, it's still far wider than if it was at its native distortion correction, which what else have I got?
Just go to the export.
On some mountain bike stuff. This one was at Mount Buller. I might have actually pulled this out already. Can't remember. Yeah, so I've already dialed this one down.
No, we've lost you.
Yeah, it's coming.
Yeah.
Give it a moment. All right. So I've already got the distortion correction set at 39 instead of 100. So that's how I delivered it to the client. Not a great photo. It was a bright day. Sorry, guys. Don't judge me.
Pretty shit.
Yeah, it's pretty shit. Good rider. Actually, that's actually my bike. That's actually my bike. I bought that bike after the review.
Thought it might have been. I like the chairlift.
Yeah, the chairlift makes it. All right, so this is at distortion 39. That's the way I sent it to the client. This is what it would have been as the JPEG out of the camera if I use distortion correction, which obviously it's flatter, it's sort of cleaner, but I could bring more into the frame and get a bit of fisheye effect without hitting those edges where they're really black, basically.
Yeah, which in this composition works, and it's nice to have that little bit of creative freedom. So JPEGs will come out at the 16mm.
Correct. Yeah. At the corrected 16mm. Yep. Exactly. That's what you'll get your JPEGs at, and that's what you'll see in the viewfinder because you're using a mirrorless. So you see the optically corrected JPEG image in the viewfinder. So,
what about with video?
So that is the interesting question. Bruce got a couple of comments in here, which brings it to video. He says, optic creation is wild. It's amazing we get this for the prices these days. That is one important point where it's like, hey, this, where is it? The 50mm 1.4, which I don't think has massive issues.
8 50mm here. I can't remember which one.
Yeah, which one is it again? The 50mm 1.4. I don't think have massive issues, but the 35mm 1.4, like that's a $2,200 lens or whatever it is, and an L lens, and it relied heavily on distortion correction, and that's where people are like, hey, like, what's the deal? Whereas Canon were probably like, calm down, it's not a $4,000 lens, which is probably what the 35 1.2 that eventually comes out will be. But Bruce is right. He says this is more of a problem if using the lens for video than stills, and that is correct because then the stuff is baked in. You can't change it. You're getting that distortion correction in video.
So it's correct.
You can
so the camera corrects it.
Yes.
In video, it's permanent.
It's baked in. You don't
that
have
baked in at 16, not the 14. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So it doesn't have the distortion.
Yeah. No, it doesn't have distortion or anything, but it is the issue of the fact that you don't have control over this stuff. It is you're just getting what they deem as the software corrected image for that lens.
So it's a case of we're not letting you have more than 16mm because we said it's a 16mm lens, even though we know you can get it to 14mm, but it's still a 16mm lens.